Today's February 5th, 2026. Current Bitcoin price is $65,024.
Welcome to the BitBite podcast, your source for news and information about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. This podcast is meant for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not financial advice.
So I think a couple episodes ago, we recorded an episode called Blank or Get Off the Pot. I think it did it.
Yeah. It definitely did the first part.
Yeah. That's painful, man. Makes me want to quote Douglas Adams. Don't panic, Hitchhiker's Guide. But
Well, the thing is, it's easy for us to say because how many roller coasters have you been on, Hans?
it's my third or fourth. I guess that's the crazy thing. Like I'm like, we were expecting it. I didn't. Now, so this is what I've got to say. Like I didn't expect it to get dropped down so quickly. Normally, we'll see like in a bear market, we'll see the drop down, kind of trade sideways for a while, another drop down. But this has been epic.
Epically bad.
Epically bad.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem that long ago when Bitcoin, we were kind of happy. Was it the previous time that we recorded? It was like hitting 95 and then it went, maybe it was a couple of episodes ago. It hit 95 and we're like, yeah, maybe it's got some juice left.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even finish that episode and it already lost like $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. It was a couple episodes ago where because it seemed like it was like we had both, I think, a couple times before, like the episode right before we were like, I think this is it. We topped. We're going to start going down. And then I think we had a little bit of a little mini rally or whatever that took place. And we were like, oh, maybe. And yeah, you're right. During that episode we were recording and there was a bunch that got taken out the top during that episode.
It's not even like we were talking that long. It was like a 20-minute episode and we just lost $3,000 or $4,000 right there.
Yep.
So, and that's basically kind of been the ride ever since that last caress of 95. And that's basically all she wrote, at least so far. Right.
Yeah. And I think, anybody that would look at that and say, the kind of that run up the way that was trying to happen, a failed rally like that, like obviously the 126,000 was the top. And so, yeah, if there was any question about whether or not we're going to go through the bear market 4-year cycles intact, like I would say yes to all the above.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. If the 4-year cycle is intact, that's the kind of the thing is just let this cycle seem very weak.
Mm-hmm.
And we were being conservative. We've mentioned it before. We were conservative in saying, 150, and it didn't even get that high.
No.
26.
No. And I think the cycle before I was way more optimistic because I think the cycle before I thought we were going to get to 100,000 when we got up to 69. Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. We broke through the 69 and not so nice.
Yeah.
And, that was the previous all-time high. So who knows how much lower it's going to go. But I don't think we're going to catch it. I don't think Bitcoin's going to have any wind at its back for a while. It's going to be all in its face.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what it'll take. We'll talk about this a little bit more later. But how are our theoreticals doing?
Why'd you have to ask?
Because we got to know, man. We've been tracking these, man. We got to see where we're sitting.
Okay. So first theoretical purchased back in October 2023. Bitcoin price is roughly 37. If you had $3,000, you could buy 0.0885 Bitcoin. And at today's current price, that $3,000 investment is now worth $5,755. So still doing good.
Not as good
But
as it
we've
was,
seen it.
but we've signed up
Oh,
almost at
no.
10,000. We saw it at 10,000 before, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I could have sworn we saw it somewhere pretty darn close to 11, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's probably right. I know it was way up there. It was like, man, that was like the buy.
Yes. And the second buy is, historically, if you bought at the halving and you held on, by the end of the cycle, you were looking pretty. And it wasn't too bad. The halving happened on April 19th, 2024. And then the price of Bitcoin was $64,000 even.
Ooh.
And $1,000 could have bought you 0.01564 Bitcoin. And right now, at the $65,000 price, it is worth $1,017. So you've only gained $17 in that almost 2 years.
Oof da.
And if we would have recorded, like, say, 3 hours ago or a couple hours ago, it would have actually gone negative in your profit loss.
Yeah. We were looking at the charts a little bit earlier. It looks like we hit as low as 59,800. And then it wicked back up to get it back above 60. But it did dip its toes below that 60 mark. So for people out there, let's break this down this way, because there's going to be a lot of people that are panicking right now. People that bought the top, maybe this is their first cycle. Like, what advice do you have for
them? My advice is, don't invest anything in Bitcoin that you can't afford to lose. I mean, that should go with anything. I mean, right now, Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is the future, but it's still in the earlier stages, and putting money towards Bitcoin is a gamble.
Yeah.
To some extent. And the other thing I would say is, your time horizon, if you're buying Bitcoin, should be at least 5 years.
Yeah. I completely agree on that. Really, I strongly suggest, unless you've just happened to time it just right, you got to at least have that 4-year cycle in your head. You're not going to buy Bitcoin and then all of a sudden, and so here's the thing, right? Like, we've talked about this before, I'm pretty sure. People always act like people that bought Bitcoin early, like that it's been easy. No, it hasn't. You have to go through these times of turmoil, especially if you're not a trader.
Yes.
You are going to be riding these ups and downs, and you're just going to be holding on for dear life.
That's why I really recommend, the smartest advice ever is to buy and then don't look at the price for that 5-year window.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking to buy some more. Because, I think part of my problem is being with this podcast, I'm just kind of always keeping my eye on the Bitcoin price, and I'll look at some of the altcoins just to see what they're doing. And, man, when the exuberance, especially the previous cycle, some of the exuberance we were feeling was just next level.
Yeah.
Next level. And,
this one, I didn't feel it this time.
No. This one was much more muted. I mean, there was a couple of days. Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Yeah, I think the most excited I got was election time. Because that was the biggest move I think that I felt, that I was like, oh yeah, we're so back. Like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And then, it's been a very muted, and I mean, especially those in the altcoin space. Altcoins have performed horribly this cycle. And I don't think, did Ethereum got back to its all-time high, but that was it, right?
It got up to about 5,000, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
And was its all-time high previously 5,000?
Let me check. I have not paid attention to ETH at all. What was that, in 2020 or 2021?
That would have been 2021.
4,950 was the high in 2021. What was it in 2025? 4,955 in 2025.
It topped it by $5
By $5
in 5 years. In 5 years or 4 years, whatever it was. That's pretty pitiful.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with ETH getting to that point is it just lost all of its energy and it's been crashing. So, that's the one thing I can say for people who've bought Bitcoin. Just be thankful you haven't bought ETH in the past 4 years, because you would be negative probably.
Yeah. Yeah. ETH right now currently is trading at $1,900. Just as a reminder. So they peaked in October. They've gotten wiped out pretty big time as well. So today, I mean, and this was written a little bit ago, but today was the largest loss in Bitcoin's history in a single day. 12 billion that got wiped out.
Well, it was a heck of a drawdown over the past couple of days. I mean, it was spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not kind of the spectacular things you're looking for. But I mean, you got to say it's quite the spectacle.
It is for sure. And it's, again, I go back to, if you're feeling sick right now, take tummy comfort in the fact that this has happened before. Maybe not to this extent. This is a big one, but I will say it will recover. I just don't know when. I can't tell you that.
Well, maybe we can save that for the end of the episode and we can kind of give our predictions.
Yeah. So it's been, I don't know, it's been kind of a pretty wild ride. We did have, I think last time we recorded, we discussed, there was the Senate bill that was about to get passed, and it wasn't clarity, but it was just basically to differentiate between what was going to go into SEC control, which was basically altcoins, and what was going to fall under the CFTC. That got passed. As far as I know, it got signed. Clarity Act is kind of the big one right now. And that's the one where I'm like, could that put wind behind Bitcoin sales? I don't know. But in a bear market, it doesn't matter how good the news is. It's not going to move up the price.
True.
That's how you know you're in a bear market. So
yep.
Just keep that in mind. So I just, for those of you out there, I wish I could give you better tummy comfort than just saying it gets easier the more you do this. Like, I mean, right now, are you feeling nauseous at all about the price?
No.
Like,
no. I mean, full disclosure, I did make a purchase a while back, and I did unload that purchase by a while back. I mean, but 2024.
Yeah.
As the afterburners started kicking on after the ETFs, I got in, and when I noticed that Bitcoin was really going down, that's when I hit the eject button. So that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But and that's not usually my thing, is selling Bitcoin, but I did that time.
No, and I think that is perfectly fine to do. You've got what you're going to hold, because I know you've got some being held allegedly, and then you've got what I would say is like, okay, well, this I'm comfortable with letting go of and actually being able to capitalize on the market. Because then the smart thing you can do once you've got something like that is you can redeploy it when you reach the bottom, or when you feel it's the bottom.
Yep. Now that's always the trickiest part. So
yeah, that's where they always talk about trying to catch a falling knife, whatever the case may be. But man, it was so crazy to see the losses today. We were looking at the ETF flows on the chart before we kind of got going, and it is there's 2 days that aren't red.
Yeah.
From the 20th of January.
We can't even count one of the days because it was positive by 6.8 million.
Yeah.
Which is nothing. I mean, that might as well just keep that break even. And the only day is February. That was on January 26th. February 2nd had a pretty decent day of positive 561.8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Outside of those two numbers, sea of red.
Yeah, I mean, and these are big numbers too. Like you're looking at nearly $1 billion almost 2 days and together.
Yeah.
29th of January, that was almost $1 billion.
Oh, man.
So,
yep.
And so the other part of the bear market is that you're not going to start to rise back up until everyone's capitulated. Because there's a lot of you right now that are just like, man, I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell while it's at 64,000, 65,000. I'm going to sell now because I bought it at 126. I want to recoup something. So once all those sellers are out, that's where you bottom, and that's where it'll start to recover.
Yep. Now the question is how much lower can we go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought 65,000 was going to be our low. Obviously that was wrong because that was beat out today. I thought we already had a while before we'd get there. Because even when we were recording last time, I was like, okay, maybe 60, we'll get below the 69,000 mark. I was like, maybe 65. I think, what have you called the bottom at?
I don't think I've given it an official bottom. I've just been saying it usually finds support at 40% of its peak. And that's roughly 50,000.
Yeah, I think it's 50,400 right now. And that would be like if it was a nice round number, 126, like with nothing else, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy. And there's been so much chaos in the world today. And we didn't just see it. It's not, and I think if it gives you any other tummy comfort too, it's not just Bitcoin. Everything is tanked.
Yep. Stock market tanked.
Across
Gold
the
and
board.
silver.
Yeah. Everything is on a drawdown. It's just Bitcoin. And this is something that I always like to think of with Michael Saylor. Bitcoin, the volatility is the lifeblood. So you can't have the large moves up without having the fast goes down. And that is the worst English that I used right there. So there was something we were going to bring up. And unfortunately, like with all the ugly news going on with Epstein, Bitcoin is not immune to that.
No.
We had a bunch of Bitcoiners listed within the Epstein files.
Some OGs.
Some OGs, Adam Back being one of them. He appeared 19 times, and it looks like Epstein was a investor in the early days of Blockstream.
Yep. Which is his company.
Mm-hmm. And right now he's being asked to stand down or to step down because of his ties to Epstein. Brock Pierce, co-founder of Tether, he appeared 1,801 times in this first release from the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Another Blockstream co-founder, Austin Hill. They don't give the count for him, but he's just referenced multiple times. And I would imagine it would go hand in hand with Adam Back if they're co-founders, right?
Yeah, they're co-founders. And Epstein was an early funder of that project. So, yeah, it's not surprising.
Joy Ito, MIT Media Lab oversaw DCI. Appears in the Blockstream funding emails. One that I'm not shocked, I guess, in a way, is Peter Thiel, part of the PayPal mafia. But that also lumps in with Elon Musk, too. Jed McCaleb, Ripple and Stellar co-founder. So for those of you that don't know who he is, Ripple, when it was originally created, Jed McCaleb left and started a company called Stellar, which was almost an exact clone of Ripple. So he's in there. David Schwartz, the chief technical officer of Ripple, he's in there. Yeah, that guy had his fingers in everything in some way, shape, or form.
No, he had a lot of influence on science, obviously, that MIT person. And some people, I I haven't been looking through the Epstein stuff too much, but how it was described to me is this Joy Ito. She was almost like the Ghislaine Maxwell for Epstein, but on the scientific side.
Ooh,
Instead of getting little kids, she was gathering all the scientists for
really?
Epstein. Yeah, that's how it was described to me. At least from what I've seen on the videos. And I have a really busy life, and researching this Epstein thing it would be interesting. I just don't have the time.
I don't know if I'd have the stomach to really go too far into it.
I
Me
probably don't have
personally.
that either.
And mainly because I think for all the people that, that's a different podcast. We can't go into a lot of that, but, for anybody that ever laughed at conspiracy theorists about Pizzagate or anything like that, I'd feel really uncomfortable right now. That's for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been kind of crazy. And like I said, it's the markets in general. Tech industry has been getting just obliterated right now. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know. I mean, economic wise, like when we're looking at the macroeconomic environment itself, you've been talking about like a black swan type of event for a while. Do you think we're approaching that, or do you think we're kind of going to skirt around there for a little bit?
I think we're approaching something. What that something is, I don't know. But I've been seeing the economic writing on the wall for a while.
Yeah.
And I've been getting a lot of companies giving me a call saying, "Hey, we'll do work for 60% if you hire us right now."
Really?
It's like, well, I don't really need that work. Electrical contractors and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't need your services this second. And I'm pretty sure my company's gonna unleash the purse strings right now either. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's, we were talking kind of before we got going, and even the company that I work for, they published their Q4 earning results, and it was an earnings beat. And on the news, their stock dropped 7%.
Yep. It was just a bloodbath today all around.
Yeah.
No one escaped it. Even if you were doing good, you got punished.
You were punished. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of talk. NVIDIA is going to pull out of their investment with OpenAI, which from what I've been hearing, OpenAI has been kind of on life support. The only thing that's green on this chart that I'm looking at that's really green, that's looking good, is the VIX.
That's something you never want to see.
No, it's up 16%.
Unless you're shorting everything.
Yeah.
Michael Burry is probably doing all right, assuming he's got a short in there. So the last thing that we're going to bring up today, and this is going to be a little bit of maybe possibly hopium. I don't trust it for a moment, but I think it's kind of interesting to talk about. And Michael Burry was kind of involved in this article whenever I was looking at this, but basically they're suggesting that we are in the end of a bear market for Bitcoin. So this is coming from Bitwise CIO Mark Hogan. He says that the crypto winter actually started in January of 2025. Wow.
And so the reasoning behind that, and we were kind of talking about this before we got going. If you think about it, January of 2025, we had already hit the $100,000 mark, I think in December of 24, or right at the beginning of January. Do you remember when that was?
Yeah, I think it was actually in December.
We had hit the 100,000 mark, and then we went down pretty low in April, I think, of this year. Not of this year, of last year. Fairly low, relatively speaking. And then we eked our way to a double top of 126,000 basically that took place. But they're saying that, and here's the crazy thing. We kept on talking about we hadn't felt the exuberance, this market, this bull cycle. And the only reason why the Bitcoin price stayed up as high as it did was because of the ETFs.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I can't disagree. At least that's where most of the purchasing was coming from.
mm-hmm. So his whole thing is saying that it began in January 2025 and it stayed quiet because of the ETFs. Bitcoin ETFs bought 744,417 Bitcoin, hiding the severity of the bear market that went through. Now, I think on the way that I'm saying that it's a plus side is that typically bear markets only last 13 months. If that's the case, we're approaching the 13th month now. But I think it's going to be super painful if that's the case, because what's going to have to happen is a lot of those ETFs, and we're seeing it right now when we're looking at that chart, a lot of those ETFs, they're going to have to flush out a lot of that money.
Oh, yeah. No, I think the flush, we're just starting to see it started,
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna intensify over the coming days and weeks, I think.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how far we'll go. We're below where I figured we were going to go already, because I figured right around that 65,000 marker. I'd say we're kind of right where I thought we would bottom. But man, bull or bear markets last for a while typically, and if we're already getting this far down, I don't know, man. Maybe we'll see a $30,000 Bitcoin again.
I actually predict that we will see somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,
and
possibly a little bit lower.
That would not be horrible for the buyers
if you have the stomach for it at that point.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's why it gets so cheap, is because everyone's capitulated, everyone's defeated, and only the smartest and the bravest and people with the biggest cojones buy when things are that bad.
Yeah.
But then that's how Warren Buffett makes a bunch of money. He wants blood on the streets, and that's when he's buying.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of has to be your attitude with Bitcoin.
Yeah. I will say one kind of antithesis to what I was just talking about with this Matt Hogan guy. Crypto Quant disagrees with him. He's saying that the bear market started in November of 2025. And he's saying it won't end. Now he's saying it's going to end in Q3 of 2026, which that means if we got to go all that time to bottom out, that's going to be, that'll be pretty bloody at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, well, there's always some type of event that happens towards the end of the bear market, which really takes things to another level of pain. Like in this last bear market, there was the FTX collapse.
mm-hmm.
And I guess in the previous one, we kind of had a fake rally, and then it collapsed during the COVID crash.
Yeah, it was starting to rise back up, and then during the COVID crash, before the K-shaped recovery took place, Bitcoin got up to, it was almost back up to 20, and maybe it didn't quite make it that far, as maybe 15,000 or something like that, and then it crashed down to $3,000. And I remember that's probably the one where I had the most doubt in Bitcoin, because I didn't sell it at 20,000 from the previous bull market. And then when it got up to like 15,000 again, and I was like, oh, we're going again. COVID happened, dropped down to 3. And I was like, man, am I stupid? Like, should I have gotten rid of this stuff a long time ago? And then, it came back again later, but that's when we had our double top, because then we went up to 64 and then 69. Nice.
I remember that. Nice. But I think, I mean, realistically, it looks like the 4-year cycle is back.
Yeah.
In all the worst ways. So I think November, calling a top in November, or the beginning of the bear market in November, it usually lasts about 13 months, like you said. So that really puts it at December 2026 is when it's time to buy.
Yeah.
or January 2027.
Yep.
So I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to start saving my shekels.
Start
and make
putting
that
some dry
money.
powder together.
Put some dry powder together. I mean, you got another 10 months to do so. So
Yeah.
there's only one way to make it rain, is you got to buy when everyone's feeling that pain.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. And I guess that's the last question I'm going to ask you, because I know we're going kind of long here, but what would this bull cycle have looked like if we didn't have the ETFs then? If that was our peak, was back in January, and we were papered over, like, so say this guy's right, Matt Hogan, right? And we were papered over with the ETFs, like this would have been one of the most lackluster bull markets that we'd ever seen.
Oh, no. It would have been, well, speaking of tinfoil hats and Pizzagate and all this other crap, I still, I'm going to fix my head right now and just say, I still don't know if the ETFs are really that great of a thing. I don't know who's selling paper Bitcoin out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with some of the banks that are getting involved and some of these large hedge funds and all this type of stuff. I just don't trust it. So who knows if there wasn't I think there's a very strong possibility that there's paper everything. There's a lot of people who have bought paper gold, paper Bitcoin, paper stocks. Like, they don't actually have them. The company's just taking their money and adding it to their ledger like they have it, but they don't.
Yeah. I don't, and yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we see it with the dollar, right? The dollar's not backed by anything. It's just paper that's on a licking a prayer that it's going to be good. So yeah, I still hardly, and I do have some Bitcoin ETFs in my portfolio, but the majority of it is physical Bitcoin, allegedly.
Well, since in your wallet you don't really have that Bitcoin, so always keep that in mind.
Yep, don't keep it on exchanges.
The thing that it's hope for Bitcoin, but it's like holy terror on everything else except maybe physical gold, physical silver is. If we do find out how bad the paper trading is across the board, and when that unwinds, you're going to see who's swimming out there, swimming naked, like Warren Buffett says. And at that point, if you actually have Bitcoin on a wallet, you actually have some gold and silver in your possession, you're going to be looking pretty good. Everyone else is going to be looking pretty bad.
Oh, everybody else is going to be signing up for their universal basic income with their social credit score attached, brought to you by the Chinese yuan.
Yep. You just have to take that microchip first.
Mm-hmm. Maybe go see Bubba in the bag. You never know. But
no.
Yeah, just be calm out there. Don't panic. Have faith. It'll recover. It's just going to take a while. Next time we record it, maybe even lower. We'll have to see where we're at.
It's going to be lower. I'm putting it out there.
You're putting it out.
I'm not exactly the.
You're not the perma bull that I am.
I'm not the perma bull, and I'm kind of being pragmatic. I think that we're just getting started, and I am a little bit worried about when this does unwind with the ETFs.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of selling going on. We'll see. And this is normal, typically, especially this time of year for tax season. So keep that in mind. People rebalance their portfolios. So we'll see.
Pay that tax, man.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else you want to add, brother?
I think I'm done.
All right. Thank you all for listening. We will talk to y'all soon.